Just preparing. Boom! And we're live, everyone. Welcome to the Boxing Talk podcast, episode 10. Some kind of anniversary of some sort. We'll take it. We're one man short, but we're good to go. We've got somewhat, usual cast, but one down. So, Phil, how are you, mate?
I'm good. Like you said, 10th episode, so still going strong.
And Mr. Jay Lynch in the lovely red jacket. Are you okay, mate?
Fabulous.
Incredibly fast hands.
Fast hands for my age.
Definitely. So we'll kick off then. I think we'll look backwards. We'll look at the previous week and then we'll move on forwards. So we'll start with the big one, I think, at least for me, and that was the world title fight. Gvozdyk, who knows, versus Gvozdyk. Nice. Versus Mr. Beterbiev.
That's how the Americans were pronouncing it, yeah.
Beterbiev.
We got a 9th round knockout by the Russian.
10th.
Actually?
Yeah.
Right.
10th round TKO.
Phil's presenting next week, everyone. I'm retiring now. But 10th round knockout by Artur Beterbiev. Phil, do you want to kick it off, mate? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it literally about 3 hours ago. So I didn't watch it live. But yeah, interesting fight, as these fights are. Interesting in the commentary, they were saying that Bob Arum was saying that this is one of the most evenly matched fights that he's put on, in his career. And like us chatting about it last week, we were talking about how it could go one way, it could go the other way, and we genuinely didn't know. And I think what we found out is, Beterbiev's power, and also crucially for me, having watched the fight earlier, is how he just ground him down with he grappling a lot. He was dead in his face, in Gvozdyk's face, didn't give him any room, and really did just, he was leaning on him, and he was rough. He was there to win, and he wasn't really there to sort of, the box before, but he wanted to win that, and it, by any means necessary, really. That first knockdown that wasn't a knockdown, he had him in a headlock and then he's thrown him over. And I think the first three were deemed being foul play like that. So, and yeah, he really just ground Gvozdyk down by the end of it. So yeah, we'll talk more about it, but to summarize, really, it's the fighter beat the boxer through just being bigger, just having that more power, and just he ground him down just over 10 rounds, really. So. That was my initial thoughts on the fight. Jay? What
do we both think to Beterbiev's display in terms of boxing skill? Because I saw your video, Jay. You can obviously go off in a second, but everyone's picked on how tough Beterbiev is and strong and powerful, and how much of a go-to that is for him. In terms of actual pure ability, were you too impressed at all with what you saw?
Yeah, definitely. A lot more impressed than I thought I would be. I mean, I said on my video, Saved by the Bell Boxing, plug, but he was a really good amateur, and he did some big names in the amateur, and we kind of just see Beterbiev as this monster that comes forward, takes punches, but heavy hands. But he definitely showed a lot more in this fight, and really, to be honest with you, surprised me on the way that fight went, because obviously I predicted a loss to him, and that Gvozdyk would dance around him and use his skills and kind of just outbox him and try and keep away from him, because he's not a soft puncher as it is. Do you know what I mean? So it was quite interesting to see. And to be honest with you, towards the end of the fight, those body shots that Beterbiev was giving to him started to slow him down a little bit, started to work the body, and really started to take over, and took some punches. But he does take punches, but just shows he's got really heavy hands, and he is a bit of a monster, and he's got a better boxing brain than we originally thought.
Yeah, I was surprised at Gvozdyk, especially sort of rounds 2, 3, and 4 onwards, did decide to stay toe to toe with him quite a lot. That first round, he was in and out, he was moving. You know, Beterbiev couldn't really get too much on him, but Gvozdyk didn't carry that on through the fight. And even when he did start taking body shots, you know, it all slowed down. But, you know, for the rest of the fight, he was, you know, decided to trade with him and, you know, get up close with him. A lot of the time, that was also part of his downfall because he couldn't get his jab off. But that's one thing I did notice is Beterbiev's jab wasn't really, it's not a weapon that he uses in the same way, like, you know, Golovkin's got his ramrod jab. You know, Gvozdyk was using his jab quite a lot. But yeah, to see him just stay in trade with obviously a bigger and stronger guy, I thought that was, you know, it was an interesting tact. Teddy Atlas was basically saying, don't do it as well. So whether it was just because he was tired or whatever, or he thought he could beat him. It was interesting because the thought in the amateurs and the commentary was saying it was quite you got the impression it was like they wanted to prove a point to one another. You know, Beterbiev wanted to beat him to show him that he was still better than him. Gvozdyk, you got the impression he was like, well, you beat me 10 years ago, but, you know, I stopped Adonis, I've come through, I'm good enough to beat you. So that could have maybe played a part in as to why I think Gvozdyk got sucked into what Beterbiev wanted him to do as opposed to sticking to his plan, which, you know, we've said last week, it's boxing and moving. That's what he does. And he didn't really do that too much, especially towards the back end of the fight, which, you know, and he also got ground down because of that. You know, I think he fell into Beterbiev's trap, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good that, like you said, Jay, I think it's worth appreciating like all the skills in boxing. So I think it's dead easy these days to fall into a trap of if they're not elusive and they slip every punch, they're not technically brilliant or sound. And obviously that's just one element of boxing. And what I thought Beterbiev was doing great as well was kind of just his conservation of energy. I mean, he was making Gvozdyk work so hard trying to spin off him, go in and out. And Beterbiev just kept slowly walking him down, getting his shots off, putting his hands back up, not being elusive, but doing enough to make sure he wasn't getting battered. But he was making Gvozdyk work so hard. And obviously up at them weights, that's a big positive. And I thought his ability to kind of punch when Gvozdyk was punching, so counter punching, I guess, was good. Not great, but good enough to really inflict damage, especially with his power. So, yeah, definitely. But I mean, he's obviously not gifted, but he's a very sound, good world level boxer, isn't he? And with his physical attributes, he's going to be a bit of a beast to beat, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I think with any boxer, if you've got the fundamentals very good, you know, you get a lot of boxers that aren't superb in sort of one area, but their fundamentals are very tight and very sharp and very schooled. And you add that with power, and there has been question marks over his training method, his work ethic in training camps before.
What are they?
Just not taking it seriously enough, basically, and it kind of seems like he really, really put 110% into this training camp and come in really good shape. You know, physically, stamina was good, fundamentals were good, and he's got power. And anytime you get all those things in that pie, then you're going to get, a good end product, and you're going to get a good performance, especially from someone like him. And I think, really now he's got a firm stake on that being that number one at the 175, to be honest with you. Bivol, Kovalev, I don't really care. I think Bivol is probably an all-round better fighter. I think he's just a better fighter. So it'll be interesting if they meet. I don't know when that would happen, but if they meet, then I think those are the two really that can stake the claim as the number one in that division.
That's one hell of a fight, isn't it? I think that's Battle of the Engines. That is.
I'd love to see.
Is that fight possible? Has anyone got any knowledge on promotion? Bivol's with DAZN, isn't he? So. Yeah,
I don't know. I think Bivol's not long fought, as he. Do you know what I mean? And I think Beterbiev's going to have a voluntary. So.
I think they'll fight. I don't think they won't avoid one another.
Right, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. Where else did they go? Those two will fight. You know, we've got Canelo Kovalev coming up, but the two outcomes of, well, if Canelo wins, which me and Jay will think will happen, well, Canelo's not sticking up at 175 to unify against the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev, I don't think. And if Kovalev wins, well, I guess he'd probably.
What a pussy.
I guess he'd fight on, but you can't really see either of those two getting involved in the mix of, you know, the rest of 175. So hopefully that means that Bivol and Beterbiev would fight fairly soon. You know, if they've got to have some mandatories, fair enough. But I don't think they'd avoid one another. I don't think that at all. So
just quickly then, before we move on to Fitzgerald and Cheeseman, I just want to.
What a decline in ability that. Beterbiev, Vosdick to Ted Cheeseman and Scott Fitzgerald.
Well, this is boxing.
That's the running order, isn't it?
I want to bring in the Boxing Talk prediction scorecard.
Yeah.
I'd like to blow my own trumpet here with a 8th round knockout prediction for Beterbiev. So 2 rounds off. So I think you'll agree. I'll take the point this week to give me a 2-1 lead over Harry. I did write them down earlier. I think, did you two both predict Gvozdyk?
Vosdick, yeah.
Yeah, well, trash fellas. Try harder next time. I like how you both semi-speechless.
I just can't, yeah.
No, it is what it is. I think it is easy to pick either guy, to be honest with you. So I won't give too much.
Can't wait till you lose, Will.
It won't happen, mate.
Can't wait.
I'm weirdly good, and it's not through knowledge, to be fair. It's half knowledge, half love. Fitzgerald and Cheeseman. I'd like to go to you on this, Jay, because I watched I watched about 9-10 rounds and I had to go out. I know how I had it when I left. I had Cheeseman winning quite heavily, to be honest. I think I left in the 10th, had it 6-3 Cheeseman, I believe. And then I kind of watched the afters, moaning and Cheeseman kind of breaking down in an interview. So upset. So I should probably go and watch the end of the fight. But where do you stand with it, Jay? Is it you know,
well,
robbery?
Cheeseman came out a different style altogether. Do you know what I mean? Usually Cheeseman would have stood in the middle and traded with Fitzgerald, and they kind of realised that was not. They obviously looked at it and thought, well, that was not the way to go. They thought of a different plan, was to come out, use the ring, move around him, pop that jab out, maybe hit him on the counter and let Fitzgerald kind of stalk him and kind of almost probably just run out of energy. But the problem was they didn't realise that Cheeseman actually couldn't do that for 12 rounds. It wasn't possible, and it started well for him. But as the rounds went in, you started to see his legs started to go a little bit, his energy started to go a little bit, and then eventually Fitzgerald started to catch up with him, started to catch him with shots, started to hunt him down, and the distance, got the distance smaller between them. And Cheeseman just didn't have the legs to keep him off and to keep him at range and to keep that movement going. And it's really interesting because Cheeseman was going to walk it. And then you just started to see, and the last 3-4 rounds were really interesting because you started to see it turn a little bit, and you started to see Fitzgerald get stronger, to get more confident. And you could see that if it had been a 15-round fight like it used to be back in the day, he would have got rid of Cheeseman because Cheeseman didn't have the gas tank, and so he kind of resorted back to the way he does fight. Problem being is when he resorted back to the way he did fight, Fitzgerald was a lot fitter, a lot sharper in the late stages of the fight. Cheeseman didn't have energy anymore, so there's going to be one winner. And for me, Fitzgerald deserved it. He won the fight. Yeah, the opening, 4-5. Yeah, he was getting schooled, not schooled, but he was getting beaten. Do you know what I mean? But then Fitzgerald completely deserved to win that fight. And the way that Cheeseman reacted, like walking out the ring and all of this business, it's disgraceful. It's just he deserved the win. He deserved the win.
Did you score it then, mate?
Pardon?
Did you score it, mate? Or
I didn't, to be honest with you. I didn't. It was close, but not close enough to think that Fitzgerald didn't get a result. It's the same with Fowler. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I talked about this on my video, in the fact that, Eddie Hearn trying to push Fowler, trying to push Cheeseman for these rematches because they're Eddie Hearn's little golden boys. Do you know what I mean? Is a disgrace, and it's a discredit to Fitzgerald and how hard he's worked to get into that position and how well he's done to beat those fighters. Do you know what I mean? Trying to say that they've got to have rematches is just ridiculous, and I think it's real poor sportsmanship when it comes to Fitzgerald. Do you know what I mean? I think it's horrendous, and Fitzgerald fully deserved. And I said in my video, he should dump fucking Sky Sports. He should dump fucking Matchroom. Fuck over to BT, man, and get some proper fights himself, rather than like they're just hoping that they can get Cheeseman and Fowler back in with them and beat him, and then resurrect those careers because they're like Matchroom. You know, they've been built by Matchroom, and the problem is, and I said this, that Matchroom and Sky are struggling now for big names. They're struggling for big names, and we'll talk about Ritson afterwards, but they're struggling for big names. So you've got your Anthony Joshua, you've got your Dillian White, top-end pay-per-view guys. Kell Brook's no longer really about. Do you know what I mean? They're having to pick up like foreign fights, like American fights or American stars to kind of build up their schedule. Do you know what I mean? But you ain't got those pay-per-view fighters, those big names anymore. And what Eddie Hearn always said, that he would get these young fighters. So this, what do they call it? When they do it at next gen shows, and they would build them slowly and blah, blah, blah. But they were saying that when they had people at the top end. Now they don't have those people at the top end. And it kind of seems to me that now they're going, shit, we need to put on some decent fights, top billing fights. So now we'll start pushing them a bit quicker, pushing them a bit further. Do you know what I mean? And I think this applies very much to Ritson. And I think that... What
do you think Fitzgerald will get out of going to Frank Warren, though, in BT?
Because he's not going to be forced into these stupid... Because he's obviously not got the respect or the backing of Eddie Hearn. It's obvious. Eddie Hearn's got the back of Cheeseman and got the back of Fowler, because those are his golden boys. Yeah, he hasn't got the backing of Fitzgerald.
Even though
he hasn't got the back of Fitzgerald.
Look to favour Fitzgerald.
Huh?
Even though he's won both fights, I don't think he looked to favour Fitzgerald.
Because the money and the time hasn't been invested in Fitzgerald. It's been invested in Cheeseman and it's been invested in Fowler as these great prospects that are going to go on to do great things. But while Fitzgerald has these wins over them, he can't really claim that. Do you know what I mean? So if Fitzgerald's done what he's done, what should he be doing now? Should he be going back to fight Fowler again? Should he be?
This is what I'm going to ask you both. Where do you want to see? Because I think reality is that we do have to look at is he has won both them fights, so he's well won the right to move on. But they were both incredibly close fights, Jay. So does he have the right to overlook the rematch?
Yeah, because it's almost like. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think Cheeseman deserves a rematch. I don't see why he should. I mean, he doesn't have to rematch any of these people.
Yeah.
Big money down. Why should you do it? Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, okay, it was tighter with Fowler possibly, but okay, so say Fowler beats him or Cheeseman beats him, if it happened, then he's back to where he was. Do you know what I mean? This fight that was not being picked up by big networks, it was not being picked up by a big promoter. I would say, no, we'll go and fight for a European title. Go and try and push your way to a world title. Forget what's happened. Keep going. Do you know what I mean? Not go back, because that's going back. Do you know, if Fowler had beaten Fitzgerald, would he have gone back to give him a rematch?
No.
In a million years. And same with Cheeseman. They wouldn't do that. But they're just trying to, because they think they've got an advantage over him, and that's wrong. So for me, I would say, right, let's go for the Commonwealth title, let's go for the European title, let's push on. Do you know what I mean? If you lose then that's fair enough. Then you can go back and revisit it. But while you're on this trajectory and you're on this winning streak, let's just start pushing. Do you know what I mean? And try and get as much as you possibly can. Not these bullshit offers that they're going to give to fight Cheeseman and Fowler again. I don't. For me, it's not good. So if he went to BT, he went to Frank Warren. Frank Warren ain't got no ties with Cheeseman and no ties with Fowler. He don't care about them. So he will match him how he thinks he should be matched, with different opponents, possibly US opponents, possibly European opponents. You know, I just think that it's a bit of a game, really, for me.
Okay. Uncle Phil?
Not a whole lot to add to it, really. I don't think he should rematch either of them. Because, you know, on that basis, we've seen a lot of close fights this year at different levels. Doesn't mean that you need a rematch all the time. Sometimes, even if it is a close fight, you've just got a winner.
Yeah, definitely.
So sometimes you do need a rematch. But yeah, I think Fitzgerald doesn't need to fight Cheeseman, or he doesn't need to fight Fowler again. And I agree with Jay as well. I think it's a point that he's been put in there twice, really, as a kind of, well, he's going to get beat here. You know, he's acted like cannon fodder, and he's actually proved to be better than Fowler. And
against Cheeseman, no, that wasn't true. He was the A side with Cheeseman. He was the favourite.
No, but do you think?
Well, he was.
He may have been the A side fight wise, but promotionally wise.
Yeah, no.
He was put in there against Cheeseman because of the Fowler win. That's what gave him some traction. But I imagine he'd have been put in there.
Golden boy, and everyone is everyone else. And I think Eddie Hearn's obvious motive was for the winner of that fight. He probably didn't care who it was to fight Fowler. That's the impression I get. But yeah.
Well, didn't Fowler fight on the undercard of this card? He's due to fight soon, isn't he? But yeah, I think Fowler would struggle against Fitzgerald again. I don't think it would be as close, actually. I think he'd probably struggle against Cheeseman, so I don't understand why he's the golden boy necessarily.
I think it'd be interesting to see.
The Caldwell fight, really. Fowler.
He was. Oh, is it?
Dave Caldwell. Puke. I think
there's the connection. And the thing is, Fitzgerald has had issues in the past, different trainers, you know, not being dedicated as he should be. And they probably looked at him and thought, this is an easy touch. Beats Fowler and goes, oh, shit. All right. Well, we've got to get him beaten. Do you know what I mean? Let's stick him in with Cheeseman.
Has anyone watching? I think it'd be interesting to watch an interview with Fitzgerald, though, to hear where he wants to go, because
Fitzgerald, I think, has said he'd take the rematches.
I think that is the biggest fight for him, though, isn't it? Money-wise.
Yeah.
Anthony Fowler is probably going to get over 100 grand for that. It's on Sky Sports.
To be fair, he's probably looking at him thinking, I can beat him again. But for me...
I want to watch that Fowler rematch. I do. I love it. It
was a good fight.
As soon as he beat Fowler, he went to probably my top 5 favourite boxers, because I hate Fowler with a passion, and I hate Dave Caldwell with a passion. And the performance he put on as well, it was proper out of nowhere, and it was an absolute beauty. But I would like to watch it again, because I'm not certain. I want Fitzgerald to be the top guy who goes on, but I'm not certain he is the top guy yet, because he has had 2 such close fights with both, and I'd like to see him just show he's that class above. But that's just me. I hear you, Jay. If he wanted to go on to European, he's got every right to, hasn't he? But
I don't think Fitzgerald's technically amazing. I don't think he's anything super.
Yeah.
But again, he's one of those one of them fighters that does things very well, certain things very well, and he's got, you know, he's strong, he's big, he's a big unit. I said he reminds me a lot of John Ryder in many ways. Do you know what I mean? He's quite stocky, he's quite built, he's very determined, takes a good shot, can give a shot. Do you know what I mean? So he's beatable, no doubt about it. He's beatable, but yeah. I would, you know, for me personally, I think maybe it's just coming, you know. His attitude would obviously be different to mine, in the sense that he's probably thinking, well, I'll beat these, so give me the money, I'll fight him, because I'll beat him once, I'll beat him again. So that's confidence within himself. I would kind of look at it and think, well, you could get beaten, mate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You could get beaten. So, okay, you'll get the money, but you'll get slotted back down again. And trust me, if Cheeseman and Fowler went on to beat him again, Eddie Hearn would be like, okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Off you go.
Done, yeah.
And then you're going to struggle to get another chance. Then you're going to be on lower cards again and building yourself up. And when you're coming from that position, it's very difficult. It's not like Anthony Joshua losing, or a big name losing, because they'll always, you know, Derek Chisora, for instance. Do you know that he's not Derek Chisora? Profile-wise.
25 minutes in.
To go again.
Praise to Chisora. Okay, then we'll be interested to see where he goes. We'll move on to... Again, this is the first time I've not done my homework. Ritson versus was it Summers or Davies Jr., Jay?
Davies Jr., wasn't it?
Right. I didn't catch the fight. I did have quite a bit of money, relative to me at least anyway, on it. I was at the cinema, so forgive, watching Woody Harrelson. I heard it was an amazing fight. Phil or Jay, did both of you watch it, or was it just Jay?
I watched it.
Phil?
Over to you, Jay, mate. Over to you.
You rat.
Okay, so Ritson definitely looked better at that weight. He's filled out a lot more.
140. 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's filled out a lot more. Looks a lot stronger at the weight, a lot more comfortable. You kind of know what you're going to get with Robbie Davis Jr. He's going to come forward relentlessly, going to throw punches, nothing too spectacular, nothing big. And it was kind of, it was a difficult fight in a way to score for me because kind of Ritson had those eye-catching big hooks, do you know what I mean, that were catching, catch the eye, were catching Robbie Davis Jr. So for me, it was kind of a close fight, but it was one of those where the one fighter looks more spectacular than the other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Looks more catches the eye than the other, and you've got to understand that Ritson is under a lot of pressure. You know, he's a hometown fighter. You know, top of the bill, having to come off a loss against was he a Spaniard or Italian? He was a Spaniard, wasn't he? I think he was a Spaniard. For the European title, and there was so much. I didn't realize actually that he'd had like 20 fights. I thought it was a lot less than that, to be honest. But there was big things made of Ritson, didn't he? Kind of come out of nowhere, had that purple patch, was knocking people out, and then it all come, you know, and had a lot of backing from Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and Sky. And
Geordie Golovkin, wasn't he?
Huh?
Geordie Golovkin, Eddie Hearn at name.
Well, yeah, and it all came crashing down when he lost that fight. Now, was it the weight? Was it, you know, was he believed his own hype? Was he put in with someone that he wasn't exactly ready for?
Yeah.
He's fighting soon, I think. I think he's fighting soon, which should be an interesting fight. Anyway, so, you know, he did win the fight, but it was very, very close. It was very close. Both of those, you know, those two fights on that bill were close, but this was really close because I was messaging you, isn't it? And you were asking me, and I was saying, I don't know, it could go either way. But to be honest, at home in Newcastle,
you got to do a lot.
It was only going to go one way. There'd probably been a riot if he hadn't got the decision. But then there was talk about from Eddie Hearn about putting in him at St James's Park against Taylor, and I mean
against Josh Taylor.
Yeah.
You had me giggling in your video, mate. Saved by the Bell boxing again. And fight with Eddie Hearn made me giggle.
And to me,
very funny.
It's fucking ridiculous that they would even think about. I mean, there's so many fighters in that division that he needs to be fighting, whether it be Hooker, whether it be bringing out Linares again, whether it be bringing out what's his name, O'Hara Davis. Do you know what I mean?
Fights to watch as well because
there's so many fights for him, but just to throw him in against someone like that is just so ridiculous. It's not even funny. But this is Sky's obsession with having these stadium fights and having these big fights. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about they've got people at high levels, Dillian White, Anthony Joshua, that's it. Then you drop down a massive level. Do you know what I mean? So now they're having to think of fighters and fights to try and justify why we're paying box office, why we're paying for Sky Sports, because at the moment they can't do it. They can't do it. So putting Ritson after 21 fights, after losing a European title, maybe at the division below, but not even putting him in against, you know, the likes of Linares, the likes of Hooker, the likes of Flanagan. Do you know what I mean? These sort of fighters.
I'd like O'Hara Davis. I'd like that fight. But
this is the sort of fights that he should be having, because up until now he's fought no one. So he's going to go from possibly, you know, Robbie Davis Jr. to Taylor. Do you know what I mean?
He's not, is he? Do you question what Eddie's motivation is with
his motivation is money, and his motivation is pleasing Sky. That's what his motivation is. He needs to please Sky because, look, you know, you listen to Adam Smith talk shit about, well, we're really excited to have this, and we've got this, and we've got Katie Taylor coming home, and it's just like it's just bullshit. And I like Katie Taylor. I love Katie Taylor. I think she's a wicked fighter, really, really, really good. But when you started going, well, We've
No
got
one
this
cares.
knockout tournament thing, and we've got like the Super Series. You know, you're talking like fights, and then we've got Joshua coming. Everything evolves around Joshua. Now the rest of the Saturday night fight cards, they're shit, really. Do you know what I mean? Well, they're shit in comparison to what Sky Sports are trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you the home of boxing. They're trying to sell you the big fights. Well, no, because they haven't got the stable, because they just rely on Matchroom. And so Matchroom have to do something to deliver. And delivering Ritson against Taylor, however one-side it is, at St. James's Park is a big event. And they love their big events, don't they? Because where else is that big event going to come from? If Joshua loses, where's the big event come from?
It's a joke, but I'm gonna go opposite to you, Jay, because I don't want this to be one-sided against Eddie Hearn and Sky, even though I am against Sky at the best of times. You know, you keep saying the stable's not there, and maybe so, but how good can a stable be? And you have to look at what the other side is doing, which is Frank Warren. What's he doing as well?
Yeah, but the difference is, though, Frank Warren and BT are not obsessed with this big box office stadium superstar roster. They're not, you know what I mean? They're not pushing that down your throat. Do you know what I mean?
And doing it though, Jay. Do you think? But are you kind of? I get the impression you're saying it in the idea that you think that's because they're a more moral company.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the problem is Sky put all their eggs in one basket with Matchroom, and now Matchroom can't deliver. And Adam Smith will be going, right, Eddie, what are you giving me? What big fight, what big event are you going to give me?
What, hasn't BT got a exclusive promotional deal with Queensbury?
Yeah, of course. But our BT going, what are you giving us? What big fight?
BT don't give a shit, do they? I mean, they're putting flipping. What was that last UFC card on pay-per-view, Phil? That was a joke.
I know which one you mean.
It's me, you, and Ed were going nuts. Well, you can't even remember. That says it all.
No.
You know.
But what I'm saying is,
who was it?
Is Sky are going to be asking, where's the big fights coming from? Now, can you tell me where those big fights are coming from?
But what big fight?
Anthony Joshua loses.
But no, I completely agree with you, mate. But I think you're looking at it maybe the wrong way, because what big fights are there in the UK? Like, in an ideal world, like what?
And you're right, but that is down to
boxing shit, really.
That is down to Eddie Hearn. For one, his roster. For two, neglecting the UK market and looking at and not building these fights properly. Do you know what I mean? And then having to rush and late thinking. So he's lost all his top ends. And he always said, "Well, what we're doing is we've got these top guys. They're coming to the end of their." Blah, blah, blah. They're coming to the end of their careers. Tony Bellew, Kell Brook. So we're doing these next gen shows to build them up, to give them exposure. Then Cheeseman loses, Fowler loses, Ritson loses. And then, oh, shit. Well, we got a Coley. We got, you know what I mean? It's kind of like there's a massive gap. And that's fine. And, you know, maybe that's not necessarily his fault because it hasn't planned out. Fighters haven't, move as quick as they should be, or the fights haven't been made that should have been, but they still answer to Sky, and Sky will be saying, what have you got for me?
Well, that's boxing.
You can't turn around and say, well, sorry, we've got no stars. Well, it's not my fucking problem. We're paying.
That's the reality, isn't it? Boxing only ever has 5 guys at the top, really, in any division, and then it's everyone else, isn't it?
Yeah. But there is no 5 guys at the top.
I think Sky's probably now is a victim of what it's had over the past 5-6 years. So you talk about big fights. Well, the whole phenomenon of stadium fights comes from Carl Froch, George Groves. Now, that first fight in Manchester, November 2013, so about 6 years ago now, prime Matchroom fight, 2 British guys, super middleweight. Right, they didn't like each other. That fight really sold, and then it led on to the big stadium fight later. So they're your 2 marquee fights there. Year later, 2015, you've got Kell Brook going over to America, beating Sean Porter. Again, that's another marquee fight that you can go, this is what we're giving you. And then after that,
no, stop on that. That's not in the UK.
Pardon?
That's not in the UK though.
No, but it's a UK name. They can push the UK name.
And my point is, Kell Brook was big at the time. He
It's
was
not
relevant.
his fault that nobody in Britain is good enough to be fighting.
Well, no, this is the point I'm saying. Then you've got Joshua come along, sort of 2016 onwards, when he won his world title, and that was enough for him to warrant and justify what he was putting on. He had the big names winning at world level, whereas now Joshua's lost. Kell Brook's career's over. George Groves, Frotch, they're no longer around.
Belly's gone.
What has he got at the minute? So I think that's why Sky's looking, a bit thin on the ground, is because the big names they did have winning at world level, they've all retired or they've all declined or they've lost, and you're looking around thinking, we haven't really got too much knocking about. But I do agree with Jay actually on the BT. Yeah, they've signed an exclusive deal with Queensbury. It sounds similar to Sky and Matchroom, but Sky, everything on Sky is pretty much, they're pushing it to be pay-per-view. I tell you what, if Eddie Hearn had Daniel Dubois, his fight against Gorman, and his last fight, they'd all be, they'd be pushing for that to be pay-per-view. They'd be pushing, that won't be in the Royal Albert Hall.
That's unfair.
I think Eddie Hearn pushes his fighters earlier more because that's how he operates. He wants them to be bigger fighters, but then that puts more pressure on them. Whereas I don't think Queensbury do that as much.
You've got Bacoli, Kevin Johnson.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that though? Who was the main event last week for Warrington and Takoosh, whatever.
You've got KSI against fucking RuPaul.
I know, biggest fight of the year, Jay.
That's what
Sky,
fucking Sky give you. Fucking amateurs on Sky box office. That's what they're giving you. Bullshit.
RuPaul looks in good shape, to be fair.
What was the co-main event for Warrington? I believe it was Zelfa Barrett versus. Anyone want to? No, I don't know either. A 100th rank world. What's Zelfa Barrett? I've got 135 in my head. The shit fight. So, boxing is just dry, isn't it? In the UK, in terms of top world talent, we're just dry, and that's the bottom tail of it, isn't it? And with the money being in the US, I don't see what the answers are anyway.
Well, look on BT. BT, you got Warrington, Selby, Frampton, Tyson Fury. What's the other kid? Dubois. You've got what's the kid that fought Kovalev? Yard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sky have got Dillian White, Katie Taylor, Anthony Joshua,
Ryan Burnett before he got
Taylor. Is he just being? Is Josh Taylor with Matchroom now, or is it just a one-off card?
He's with Cyclone, I think. It's
still with Cyclone.
Bit of a co-promotion with the Sowlands, isn't it? I don't know, Jay. You bang on right, but I feel like you're pointing fingers though.
I'm only pointing fingers because they're not delivering the product that they promised to deliver, and all I'm saying is that Eddie Hearn is not. Why else would you put Ritson in with Taylor?
That's trash, and I can't believe he said it. And I thought it was.
But this is what I'm saying. The reason they're doing it is because they need to deliver big fights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They need to deliver big fights, and they can't. But it's not even so much about delivering big fights. It's about delivering pay-per-view fights.
Yeah. Well, this is what I don't get, because in terms of pay-per-view, you can deliver big fights, can't you? 'Cause if it's pay-per-view, then there's enough money in the pot to...
Not saying that, but who's pay-per-view worthy?
This is it, though. So if it's not pay-per-view, then there's just no big fights to be made, really. I mean, what do we class as a big fight?
But Sky is going to demand...
Paul Fitzgerald's kind of the top level of what you're looking at, really, isn't it? Like,
Sky is going to demand pay-per-view fights. They need to make their money back somewhere. That's where they make their big money. And if they've only got one pay-per-view fighter and another one that's on a drug ban...
Need to get the money from somewhere.
And bearing in mind, Joshua fights twice a year. They want to get at least 4 or 5 pay-per-views in a year, don't they?
Yeah, the UK's just not got it. Simple as that. It's sad, but the UK just doesn't have it now. Like you say, we've had a bit of an end of I don't want to call it a golden era, but big name era.
For Sky, I think if you look at BT, they've got people coming through that could be, big name. Dubois can be a big name fighter. Definitely be a big name fighter.
Really?
There's no reason why he can't. He's the best young heavyweight in the country.
I think if he's a big name fighter, though, it'll be because he gets there through merit rather than being a big name, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not saying big name as it says, sense of big personality or whatever, but big prospects that are possible big time world champions. Daniel Dubois is definitely one of them. Anthony Yard is definitely one of them. Warrington is one of them. Tyson Fury is one of them. Do you know what I mean? You look on the Matchroom stable, who are you picking out? Maybe Boazzi, possibly.
Well, Fury's not with BT and Frank Warren, though, is he? I think that Tyson Fury. I think that's just a fake relationship. He's with Top Rank and ESPN, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's under Queensbury. He's promoted by Frank Warren.
Yeah, I find that a weird one. I know he is.
It's only the same as Matchroom and DAZN. It's the same principle.
Yeah, I think Fury will go to Matchroom tomorrow, though. I think Fury just follows the money now.
Well, I don't know, because he would have gone to Matchroom, wouldn't he, if the money was right?
Fury's turned down Matchroom.
Yeah, and because, but I think because he just doesn't like Eddie Hearn.
What about the great prospect Hughie Fury, though?
On a Monaco card, isn't he? November 30th.
I think you're forgetting that future world contender there. Let's move on.
Go on, him.
Yeah, you had a passionate one. To go off fighting a little minute before we move ahead to next week, an interesting article on boxing scene was the WBC looking to impose a 2-year ban on professionals who go to the Olympics. Now, this is all kind of a new conversation to me. I've never heard this being brought up.
I've heard this before, but yeah, carry on.
So I guess it's a bit of an open discussion, to be honest. Would we like to see pros in the Olympics? Why do we think the WBC wouldn't like it and would go as far as to put a 2-year ban on it? And where do we kind of stand with that whole scenario? Because I don't know what my thoughts are on that, to be honest.
I don't think you should have pros in the Olympics. Or if you are going to have pros in the Olympics, have it where it's separate to amateur. So have your professional heavyweights go in. You don't want to see a pro against an amateur in the Olympics. It's not. One, it's dangerous. If Pacquiao got in there in 5 or 3-minute rounds against an up and coming welterweight, he'd wipe the floor with whoever.
I'm with you. I'm not with you, because you've kind of got these 38-year-old Cubans who have been doing it for 20 years who are getting in with like a 22-year-old Brit as well. So
I wouldn't want to.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's like as cold.
No, I think professionals that can go 12 rounds at world level, because it'll be world level fighters going in trying to chase that Olympic gold. Going in with amateurs, doesn't matter how good the amateur is. It's a different ball game, really. I mean, the Olympics is meant to be an amateur competition anyway. Now I know you do have things like football where you do have professionals in it, but the Olympics is an amateur competition. But I wouldn't like to see it, because once you're a pro, and banning them. Well, also the WBC, they don't want any of their champions to be fighting in the Olympics, because it just takes away from their titles, doesn't it? Say, for example, Wilder concentrated on winning the super heavyweight gold. He won't be bothered about his world title, and then they're losing out on one of their star guys. So no, I think once you turn pro, once you're fighting at world level, the Olympics and being an amateur, that's gone for you. You've turned pro, you've made that choice. I don't think you should have pros mixing it with the amateurs. If they had a pro section to it, fair play. But no, I don't want to see pros and amateurs mixing it, to be honest. Two different sports as well. But yeah, wouldn't want to see it.
What do you reckon, Jay?
Well, Tyson Fury's talked about this in the past, hasn't he?
Has he? What does he say?
He said that he wanted to, at one point, he said he wanted to go back and fight in the Olympics to win that gold medal that he never got a chance to win.
Because he never got picked, did he?
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Well, I don't know, because the Olympics is seen as something where it's amateur sportsmen, isn't it? And sports people. But then I would imagine a lot of the top athletes or whatever, top 100-meter sprinters or whatever, aren't technically amateurs
Well, there's
anymore.
nothing amateur about it. I was going to ask you about that,
Yeah.
Phil.
They are technically amateurs.
But like
They're
the
not,
money
they're not paid to do the sport. The money they get is through endorsement deals, which means they're still amateurs. Swimmers, runners are amateurs.
But what happens like when they do like those Golden League things and all of that, those big meetings?
Yeah, the money comes through sponsorship and
So
they
sports
not
deals.
paid to it, aren't they? Don't they get paid to attend those meetings?
They might do, but I believe that most of their money comes from being sponsored, things like that.
Right.
So Usain Bolt, what's his official world ranking then? Is that done at the World Championships, and the Olympics is separate?
I don't know how world rankings are done on that, to be fair.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think on it? Because we're getting more on about runners and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to see it?
What I think what you could do is, maybe if you were going to do it, and if they were going to open it up to professionals, maybe have like a standard limit. So if you've been in the top 50 of the WBC or rankings, then you can't sort of qualify for it. You know what I mean?
Well, there already is a standard limit on it. It's
And then,
once you've turned professional.
And then, but if they're going to do it in the sense that they're going to allow professionals into it, then put a rule in where, as I said, if you're not in the top 50 of the WBC, or if you've not won more than, say, a regional title, because at the end of the day, if you had
good to Tom Shaw's would be being ranked fourth for the WBO that you've stolen the Olympics away from him.
But if you had Joe Bloggs, who'd won a Midland area title, but he's, I don't know, 7-4, do you know, would he be any better than the top guys coming out of a Great Britain team?
Yeah, it'd be trash.
So
the best boxers go through the Olympics. This is really why I slightly disagreed with you a little bit, Phil, because one, it's 3 rounds as well, so it's just inherently not as dangerous as professional boxing anyway.
What would you make? What would you make of what rules are they fighting under then? Because amateur boxing and pro boxing is different.
Yeah,
so are you putting a head guard on Andre Ward again and telling him to dance around?
They got rid of head guards now, I believe.
No, not in the amateurs. I don't think no.
Okay.
I don't think they use head guards now.
Do they not?
I think they got rid of them recently, in the last year or so.
Oh, fair.
Well, still, I think they still wear vests.
Right.
Okay.
Shut up, Phil. You make it all, mate, as you go along. You do.
Well, yeah, do you want to see that?
Look, I don't think there's any need for it. What's the need?
Yeah. I don't. Again, I agree with you, Jay, because I would like to see it, but like you said, I just don't think there'd be any participation anyway, because your top pros are prize fighters, aren't they? Who are fighting for £1 million. I just can't see these guys take a Golovkin to do it because he's a sicko, but like someone like Andre Ward or Charlo, all these kind of guys, these top prize American fighters who fight for millions of pounds, they're not going to get in with some skillful Cuban and look average and probably get the win and fight for free, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? They're going to be fighting.
And in that sense, there's no money in it either.
Exactly. Tyson Fury's not going to fight for free.
Well, he probably would, because he's mad, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a sicko as well.
And at the end of the day, there could be the sense of look at like, say, this is kind of different, but look at Paulie Malignaggi fighting this bare knuckle thing.
Yeah.
No one wants to see that.
But why do you do it? Why would you do it?
There's money in that.
There's money in it, but at the same time, that Paulie Malignaggi has obviously got a few quid. He's got a good job at Showtime. Why would you go into... Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of a thing that obviously he wanted to do.
Yeah. Is that still happening, this bare knuckle fight?
What, his bare knuckle fight?
Yeah.
He fought. He lost.
I just want to bring up a comment in the live stream.
More of a joke.
We've got a comment from MDJ, and he thinks top amateurs would be top pros in the amateurs. and top pros would be top amateurs in a pro.
I think there's definitely a case for that. It's kind of like the prize fighter. Do you know what I mean? Where it all styles and everything goes out the window, doesn't it? You know, you've only got 3 rounds to basically get the win.
But you also score points as well. It's a different.
That's it. Yeah, shout out to MDJ for watching, by the way, mate. Thank you. He says different scoring system as well.
But what I'm saying is, you could be right in that even though a professional fighter is used to going 12 rounds, it's a different kind of format, and some fighters start late, don't they? Do you know what I mean? Take 3 or 4 rounds to sort of get warmed up, to sort of get into things. So, you know.
Well, that's how some pro, because you can take the 2 examples that we'd probably say of world-class fighters who tend to not start quick, they size their opponents up, are Lomachenko, who's a double Olympic gold medalist, and Usyk, who won at 2012, so he won a gold medalist. So
yeah,
we've seen pros that would start later on. They size their opponents up and they look to break them down. Golovkin's another one really as well, who got a silver medal in Athens, I believe.
Oh, I love Golovkin.
So if you told a pro you've got 3 rounds to fight this guy and a different score, and they are going to fight differently. So I don't know. Maybe I'd split it up. Like,
would we say, for the sake of time, probably best to move on, but would we all say we're interested but not bothered?
It's just difficult because you've got a fresh face coming out of the British team, and as you said, you've got Cubans that have been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. We'll see where it goes, though, whether it happens or not. Moving on then, so I think we'll kind of conclude looking at next week's action, and I'll push you both for predictions as well. Get that top up my score. Where do you want to start? Should we start with PROGRAIS Taylor, Chisora Price? Anyone want to kick off with either?
Start with Chisora Price, I reckon.
Chisora Price. Oh, God, I love this fight, but I don't have a clue what's going to happen other than a Price knockout. I'm certain of that, but I don't know how well Price is going to do, and I don't know whether he's going to spark Chisora and knock him down. I don't know how the fight's going to go, but I know the outcome. That's my thoughts on it so far.
I think this will be a Chisora stoppage, and I don't see too much debate any other way, really. I think Price being the opponent, yeah, they've got the name in, and it's good for Price too. Like you said, if he did win, it's that sort of win that his career kind of deserves, really. But at the end of the day, he's no good. He's just big. He's just no good. He's just no good. Like Chisora's got
the title of the video made for me there, mate.
Yeah, he's no good.
You know, you got Chisora who in his last fights fighting Dillian White, who should have really been fighting for world titles, and in the first fight for me did beat him actually. You know, David Price is just, that's it. I just think he's just going to get stopped, and I can't. If like he landed flush, didn't he, on Povetkin? Flush in that fight.
Yeah.
He then got horribly sparked out a couple of rounds later. You know, I think if he lands, because Chisora's hard as well. Like, I reckon Chisora will be able to take a punch off him, whether he takes 3 or 4 on the trot. But Price isn't good enough to do that. So I think it's a Chisora stoppage, and I'm struggling to see how Price wins, bar a puncher's chance. But I think that's all he's got, really. Bless him.
Where is Jay going to save the day for Price here?
It's difficult to call, me, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's there's so many variations in this. You know, there's the variation of what Chisora turns up. There's a variation of what Price turns up. There's a variation of whether a crap Chisora turns up and a great Price turns up, or a crap Price turns up and a great Chisora turns up. So if a great Price turns up, what he will do, what he did against Dave Allen, is that he will keep him at range, pump that jab out, keeping the length, keeping the reach. And
is that Price's signature win? Because Dave Allen's crap as well, by the way.
He is crap. But there's this whole thing of whether David Price has finally clicked.
Well, I was just going to say that the one thing I'm interested in, the one thing I will give the time of day is, you said this last week, Jay, that he gave an interview, didn't he, saying he's in his own head, he's got over the problem because he does gas and whatever, and these problems arose after Tony Thompson beat him, and he has said, I've actually now got over these. So I'm interested to see if that's him just trying to keep himself relevant, or whether he actually does.
So, and if he does, that's what I'm saying, he can keep him at range. He's got such a great reach. He's got height on his side, and in a way, Chisora, in one way, is perfect for him, in another way, isn't. So in the sense that if he keeps him off him, Chisora is really, he'll take shots. Do you know what I mean? But then Chisora could turn up really fired up, use this ducking underneath that jab, ducking underneath that,
Mike Tyson, get
inside and just clip him on that chin with that big right hand, and could put him on his arse, because we know Price can go on his arse. So it's really interesting for me. It's really interesting. I just can't really. I could see both. I could see Price winning on a points decision, or I could see Chisora knocking him out.
MDJ comes in again with a David Price knockout, 6-8.
Really?
Interesting.
But that's possible because Chisora can go. We've seen him go, but I just
MDJ, you're way off, mate. Thanks for the comment, but no thanks on that one. No way.
Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Have your opinion.
Oh, if that happens next week, Will, then
David Price is going to drop £1, yeah, and then that overhand right's going to come, and it'll be good night Vienna, and on to say the PROGRAIS fight,
and which has happened very many times to David Price, so it could definitely happen. But if like Phil said, if Price is rejuvenated and thinks he's switched on, and a lot of it is mind with David Price. A lot of it is mind. It's not physical; it's mind with David Price. And if he's got his head right, he's a very difficult man to beat purely for his size and his range. Do you know what I mean? So,
we'll see.
I'm not going to argue against that, because I don't know. I don't know. I've never followed Price. I've watched all of his losses. I think Christian Hammer knocked him out as well.
Not sure.
I think he has lost to Christian Hammer.
And how much of it is head, or how much of it is he not that good?
He's got the attributes.
Well, we've watched David Price fight on a YouTube card, and one of the comments was, David Price, horse shit as usual.
but if you look right, he got what was the guy the chubby guy that is a Turkish German guy that properly sparked him within 30 seconds. What's his name?
Sport Price.
Yeah. No, I can't remember his name. Someone in the chat remembers, tell me. And proper sparked him, but he was on drugs, apparently. Do you know what I mean? So that was going to affect you. Tony Thompson caught him a couple of times. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
By Tony Thompson.
Tony Thompson?
Erkan Tepe.
Yeah.
Erkan Tepe caught him. And I think, and then there's been the second Tony Thompson where he just drained. He drained of energy. Now, there's a reason for that. That's not just because you haven't done your work in the gym. It's because that is purely mental. And I said in a video when I talked about this fight, well, the first time I ever sparred in a proper ring, right, against a fucking monster of a man. He was built like a racehorse.
Lovely.
Someone asked me, who do you want to spar? And I pointed right at him. I thought, right, I'm going to fucking have the biggest geezer there. I want to spar him. And I got into the ring. First time I'd sparred. And I was in good shape and that. And literally the energy just drained out of my body. Because all of a sudden, and this is only obviously a very small scale, but all of a sudden you're like there. And now it's all right eating bags. It's all right eating pads. But then you're there with someone to try and take your head off. Yeah. And so... But it's psychological, do you know what I mean? Because you're aware of your surroundings. And I think that's happened to David Price, that he gets kind of put in there and just energy, just emotion, nervous tension, just drains him. It's like even if you went to a job interview and you're really nervous and and after you come out of the job interview, you're exhausted because you've put so much energy mental energy into it, it kind of drains your body. And I think that's what was affecting David Price. And if he can overcome that, like he looked like he kind of had against the shit Dave Allen,
Christ.
he might do it.
Boxers.
I'm picking Price. I don't care. I'm just going to pick Price just for the fuck of it.
I think, yeah, it's that red jacket. That's giving you the vibes today. Fair enough. Let's move on to the biggie. PROGRAIS Taylor, and I think this is my favourite fight of the year. Actually, I'm so looking forward to it, and I'm gonna go right off the bat. My pick is PROGRAIS. I've liked PROGRAIS since the announcement of this fight. The only thing I worry about, because I've watched a lot of PROGRAIS, is he doesn't throw his punches in bunches. He doesn't throw lots of combinations. He's a counter puncher, finds the gap, bang, one. Maybe a 1-2. He's not a big output fighter. He's very skillful. And I'm just wondering, against somebody as cute as Taylor, will he be able to find these big shots and walk him onto these big counters? And even, not with it being in Britain, will he have to do more than what's required to get the decision? Will his usual style be enough to get the win? That I don't know. But if I'm going to disregard all them thoughts of venue and judges, and I pick PROGRAIS by a really, really close fight where I see PROGRAIS taking the earlier rounds and the middle rounds and catching Taylor heavy, and then Taylor kind of coming on later, being the bigger guy and kind of figuring out PROGRAIS a little bit later on. But I have a close decision win for PROGRAIS. What about you two guys? Bit of an entourage that one, wasn't it?
Wow.
How much have you watched of PROGRAIS, both of you, I guess, maybe?
I've watched a bit of him.
Yeah.
And you're
I
right.
watch bits and bob.
He's very economical with his punches. Carries a bit of power. Kind of awkward in a way. Do you know what I mean? Uses
he's always moving when he throws. He's never still, is he? Like especially with his head movement too.
He's
it's like
really good. He's really good. I'm a big fan.
But the problem is with him, for one, he keeps his hand very low. His
reflex.
His left hand very low. I think he keeps one of his hands very low. He's very susceptible to the counter punch. Because he doesn't throw his shots in bunches and he's economical with his shots, he's very open to a counter punch from a left hand. So, yeah, he keeps his right hand low. So he's very, very susceptible to the right hand. He's very quick. His jab is super quick and his punches are super quick. But then if you notice, when he kind of gets someone hurt like he did in the Relic fight, he kind of runs after him. He does this thing where he just runs after him. He goes to like this... like Deontay Wilder / Amir Khan sort of thing where he'll just like chase. And I think he's kind of really open to counters and he doesn't throw enough shots, as you said, Will, that he just doesn't do enough, which could be a problem when going on points at a hometown decision. Now, Taylor, on the other hand, has got the height, the reach, can counterpunch really well, got good skills, but against Barachek, he kind of got outworked a little bit at times and caught a lot of shots. So in a way, Barachek is kind of similar to PROGRAIS in the sense of like the way they throw their shots, but he throws a lot more, and he's constant pressure. And he kind of struggled with that a little bit, even with Taylor's good movement, good head movement, and good counterpunching. But he's not going to get that from PROGRAIS. But at the same time, he's going to kind of have to deal with that moving target. And then once PROGRAIS does find a weakness, he will pounce on you and do that thing, as I said. So it's kind of, it could work either way, really. You can see strengths and weaknesses in either fighter. It's whether Taylor is cute enough, good enough, sharp enough, quick enough to deal with PROGRAIS, and it's whether PROGRAIS can put on enough pressure and deliver enough to get a result or knock him out.
I think it's just the perfect fight because I think you will find out who is better on the night because it's going to be down to who adjusts.
It could be really shit. I tell you. But he could be, because
Right,
Prograis
kicking Jay out. See you later, mate.
no, but Prograis could sit off and just try and hit him with these one shots. And Taylor is not the sort of fight that's going to start putting pressure on you. And Prograis
as a semi-purist, though, I think we're all just going to love it because it's just
of course. No, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is these styles could see
years of action.
Because Taylor's not the one that's going to put the pressure on. He wants someone to come at him, and he can just pop him off and move, pop him off, duck underneath.
I think Prograis will go after him though.
Yeah, well, one of them has to win this fight. Otherwise, they're just going to be standing looking at each other.
They're both so good. I'm really, really looking forward to this fight. Yeah. Phil, what do you think, mate? Where's your head turning to?
I'm backing Josh Taylor.
Why?
I'm backing Josh Taylor. For all the reasons we've explained, but I do think Josh Taylor's timing very good. Put that in the mix with Prograis throwing 1 and 2 shots, and he's unorthodox in the way at times that he does throw that. And like you said, he's always moving when he does do that. But on the flip side, he is always open somewhere where he's doing that. So if he gets his movement right, he'll be very elusive, and he could tie Josh Taylor up in knots. But I think Josh Taylor is good enough to find holes in that sort of style. And also, I think it will only take from either fighter as well, but more so on Prograis. If Prograis gets hit early on, I think that will slow him down a lot more. That will take a lot of the wind out of his sails. Where
I can't see that happening, Can't see that.
Fair play. I think Josh...
Yeah.
But I'd like Josh Taylor's not going to chase that. So if Prograis is dancing around the ring, now this is why it could be a crap fight. If you wanted like a war, like a fight of the year type thing. Taylor's not going to chase Prograis. He will happily let him run about, circle. He's not going to waste his energy doing that because, again, Taylor looks to, break down fighters. He's not going to, because it's a big event. I don't think he's going to change the way he boxes. I'm backing Taylor, bigger guy. I like Taylor. I want him to do it. And I think, there's enough. He's got enough skill. He's got enough nous to do it. But have you seen that? I watched the Gloves Are Off with them both on Friday, and I could just tell I think they're trying to sell this fight, more so because I got the impression that they're not. They just seem like two boxers at the top of the game.
Yeah. And
that's it. I think they're almost trying to create a rivalry that's not there. We was watching it. And the gloves are like, there are some really good gloves, right? The Frotch Groves ones, Dillian White, Derek Chisora, to name a few. Like they genuinely hate each other. Like, and it's good to watch.
Yeah.
Whereas I was watching this one, and Johnny Taylor's trying to, lead every. Not Johnny Taylor, Johnny Nelson, Jay's favorite boxing pundit ever. Is trying to lead the thing. And they're like,
Spencer Oliver. Another asshole. Spencer Oliver's
Is that the guy with the podcast with Jake Wood? Yeah, a bit of a fat bastard he is.
Well, he got sent out Sky Sports used him, then they got rid of him, and now they bring him back. And now because he's brought back, he does everything PC, doesn't everything down the line, man.
Yeah, but just going what I say.
I think he's a nobody with an opinion, like we are, but obviously he's big time, so fuck him.
Yeah, but they were asking Josh Taylor how he's going to beat Prograis, and he was just saying, "I'm just better than him in every department," and there was no. You're just thinking he's been kind of put in there and told to say he's going to beat Prograis, but I get the impression Josh Taylor's not too bothered about Prograis. Apart from the fact he's his next opponent for a world title.
Yeah.
He just sees him as another opponent. I think Prograis is the same as well. They've just reached a point in their careers where they've got to fight because it's 1 and 2. They're not bothered about one another, be it hating them. They just see him as an obstacle that they've got to overcome. This is why I think the fight will be good. Because I don't think they're there to beat the personality in front of them. They're just seeing them as an opponent. They're not bothered by each other. They probably get on, to be fair, but they are incredibly professional. They are both incredibly good, different styles. And I don't think it will be a crap fight. I think, because for them it's like a Golovkin Canelo, like that was a really good fight. There was potential for that fight to be incredibly boring, but because they're so good, it wasn't. And I think that'll be the same with this. I think two good fighters. I think Taylor will beat him. But yeah, looking forward to it.
All right then. For this, good thoughts, fellas. For the sake of time, because I have got an appointment with Will Smith at the cinema tonight.
You're watching Gemini, man.
Moving on quickly. I do have the Boxing Talk podcast scorecard up, so I've taken the predictions, and I think we'll call it a night if you're okay with that, fellas.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think we're going to do a double bill this week. We'll do Price and Chisora and PROGRAIS Taylor. And I'm going to come up with a bit of a rule because it's been a bit sketchy so far. There can only be one winner on each week out of the 3 or 4 of us. So there can only be 1 point given out per fight. And you have to get the prediction of the fight right. So say Golovkin lost the other week and we all predicted Golovkin, no one will get a point. You've got to get the outcome right. And if we all get the outcome right, obviously then it's closest to what you predicted. So those are the sketchy rules. So we'll go first with Price and Chisora. I will go first on this one so I can go third on PROGRAIS Taylor. I'm going to pick Derek Chisora, brutal knockout, oxygen needed in the 6th round.
Fair enough. I think that Derek Chisora is going to stop David Price without oxygen. I think he'll get back up. You've gone 6. You've gone middle of the road. I'm going to give Price a little bit more credit than he probably deserves. I reckon he'll go at least 7.
So, okay, Mr. Lynch.
Price points.
You asked. You asked. Well,
just for the crack.
If you get that right, Jay, that's incredible.
That's what I was saying. I'll just come back next week and say I'll do 5 minutes and I'm fucking off.
I will give you £5 via PayPal if that goes your way.
Deal.
Heard it here first. Moving on then for the Big E, I'm going to go last on this one. If you're all right with that, fellas. PROGRAIS Taylor.
I'm going to go Taylor. Ooh, could it be a draw? No, they're not going to have the World Boxing Super Series be a draw, are they? I'm going to have Josh Taylor win it on points, roughly. I'm going to go 115, 113, something like that.
You don't have to get that detailed, just UD, SD.
Could be a split. Josh Taylor split decision.
Okay. Mr. Lynch?
Same.
You fucker. Now one of you needs to be more specific.
I don't think Taylor will win on points. It's simple. Do I have to what it'd be a split? Yeah.
We'll call it that. You can both have a point if that happens.
Yeah, but the likelihood our predictions haven't been the greatest. So to be fair,
you look here, everyone. You're listening to the outcome here with me, and you're looking at a PROGRAIS UD.
What?
You heard it here first, mate. I'm telling you.
Unanimous decision.
Yeah.
Well, you know you're going to be there when that doesn't happen.
Yeah, can you make sure what you need to do? What you need to do is film it when it happens, and then whack it on the channel.
Yeah, no,
or just actually do it live on the channel when it comes up.
Yeah, no, we've got some plans. I'll keep you in the loop, Jay, in the chat. We've got some ideas.
Okay.
Good stuff then. I have got to shoot for X reasons. So, a great show. Thank you, MDJ, for coming in, mate. Good to have you in. Loved your comments. And we'll see you all next week. Cheers, fellas.
See you all later.
Shut up.